In this lesson, we're going to be learning about presentation design basics. I'm going to be focusing on 6 different points during this lesson, and they are determining presentation size, background color, keeping the text at a minimum, use a readable font, find an anchor point or location for your logo, and keeping important elements from the edge of the screen. This lesson is about presentation design basics. The first thing I'd like to talk about during this lesson is to determine the presentation size. Now, why should we go ahead and do the size of the presentation first? Well, that's simple. This presentation is going to have to be shown on something, whether that be a laptop, an LCD projector, or a 16 by 9 60-inch monitor. Now, you have to determine how is your presentation going to be shown. And if you know that first, you'll know exactly what size to make your presentation, and you'll avoid having the mistakes on the back end. I've had clients who've made 4x3 presentations and not thinking of what this presentation is going to be showing on, and they go to a meeting and here they're showing it on a 60-inch monitor, and then they have a black vertical bar on the left and right of their presentation, when they could have made the presentation 16 by 9 and then had the entire screen filled up with their presentation. So they're missing valuable real estate when they do not make their presentation the correct size. So I have PowerPoint 2010 up on the screen, and I want to be able to change the page size from 4x3 to 16 by 9. But before I get into that, I do have to say I am very surprised with this new version of PowerPoint that the default setting on here is 4x3. With all the new monitors out today, whether it be on a PC, Macintosh, or even a regular TV, they're all flat screen, they're all 16 by 9. I'm not even sure if you can buy a 4x3, but it surprises me that PowerPoint would make this their default setup, which, you know, again is just I think they kind of missed the boat on this one. So what I want to do is I want to change the size of this page to 16 by 9. So what you have to do is go up to the top of the screen in PowerPoint where you see all the tabs listed up top, and you have to go to the one that says Design. When you're in Design, you want to go over to the left and click on the icon that says Page Setup. Now if I clicked on that, I see that there's a pull down that says Slides Sized 4, and again the default is 4x3, but if I hit that pull down, I will see that there is a 16 by 9. Now there's also a 16 by 10, and then there's other options as well. For instance, you have a letter paper size or ledger paper size. And I guess that's good for if you're doing a presentation that you just want to print out instead of showing it up onto a screen. So, but at this point we just want to hit 16 by 9 because that's the most common screen resolutions at this point, and we want to hit OK. And now we just made our page for a screen resolution of 16 by 9. And that's how you determine the presentation size. Now we're going to be talking about background color. What color should I make my presentation? Well, that's all going to be determined on what your output will be. Whether you're going to be creating your presentation to be strictly printed out on paper, whether it's going to be shown across the internet, or whether you're going to be showing your presentation at like a corporate meeting in an auditorium or something like that. If you're going to be showing this presentation on paper and you're going to be wanting to print this out, I would recommend just keeping the background white, or maybe just a light color. It's always best to have black text on white paper if you're printing it out. Two reasons: it reads better, and secondly, you're not chewing up a lot of ink. Now, if you're going to be showing this presentation over the internet, or you're going to be showing it on a computer screen, you can really use any type of background color or shape that you would like. And I know that PowerPoint up here under this design has many different themed backgrounds that you can choose, and any of these would work well within a presentation that's shown on the internet. Now, you can create your own backgrounds and use a format just for your business. So that all would work well if you're going to be showing it on a small screen. But if you're going to be showing this presentation in a corporate setting, you're going to want to show this on a dark background. And mainly because in corporate meetings, in most cases the lights are dim, and there might be a spotlight on the speaker on stage, but in most cases the lights are dim, and you do not want to have a light colored or white background, because it's going to be like looking at a car headlight. It's going to be way too bright, and there's certain things that you're not going to be able to see from that distance. So having a dark background actually looks better in that type of an environment. So you want to be able to choose a background that would be dark and not light. Once you determine what color background you want to use and what situation that background is going to be used for, you're going to want to choose your font. Now, I realize that in some corporations there's a font that you always use, and there's not too much that you can do about that, but if you have a font that's a little bit harder to read, and there are fonts out there that get real thin, and if you don't have that at the right size and you have that font at a very small size, that font could be very hard to read, and in some cases it could actually disappear within the background. So if you do have a font that's hard to read, but you have to use the font, I would recommend using that font for, let's say, the heads of the slides. But for the body copy of the slides, I would recommend something that's much easier to read, like a Helvetica or a Futura, something of that sort, so that way it's cleaner, it's easier to be viewed on the screen. Similar to what I have on the screen now, that is a Helvetica. Now, the next point that I'd like to make is to keep text at a minimum. And what I mean by that is not to put all your words on one slide. If you have a subject matter that you're talking about or some points that you want to make, try to expand that information onto 2 or more visuals. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. Sometimes I have clients that have information that they want to put on a slide, and they put all of it on one slide. And what happens is that these visuals become impossible to read. And what point is the slide if you can't read it? So if you have a lot of information, try to put that information on more than one slide. My recommendation is 30 to 40 words on a slide. Next, we're going to want to find an anchor point or location for your logo. Where should your logo be placed within your presentation? Now, I've seen logos placed in just about every corner of a presentation, but what is the best location for your logo? And that's the bottom right hand corner, because that's going to be the area that's going to be least affected by body copy, bar charts, pie charts, graphs, all the other stuff that's going to be on the page. Now, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a small rectangle. And usually this area right here is going to be the area that you place a logo. Now again, you can place a logo anywhere on the page you would like, but the bottom right is going to be the location of the slide that's going to be most out of the way of other elements that you have going on in that slide. The last thing that we want to talk about in the design basics is to keep important elements in from the edge of the slide. Why do we want to do that? Well, when it comes to printing your presentation out to, let's say, a printer, it's not really that important. And to be honest with you, it's not really that important if you're going to be showing this on a computer monitor. We mainly want to do this for larger venues, because it's my experience when you're working with production companies and they set up their projectors, there's always a little bleed that happens on the screen when they're doing that. And then they put curtains up on the bottom and on the sides, and that way you don't see anything behind the screen. Or in a lot of cases they'll do rear projection so you don't even see the projector out front. And when they do that, they do a bleed on the screen, so that way it looks cleaner. And because of that, you want to make sure that you keep important elements like your logo that would be in the corner, or text, or the titles. You want to make sure that you bring those in a little bit from the edge of that slide. I think it's important to be able to keep those types of important elements off the edge of the slide, because let's face it, you don't want to lose anything, and you don't want to cover up your logo or important text that you might have on the slide. Thank you for watching this lesson. It's Design Basics, and we'll have more lessons in the future.